I know we were expecting some new developments this weekend, but some of them have failed quality control. Make sure you indicate what you'd like redeveloped via the workstation.
You let me down here, Carl. You let me down. It's the Monaco Grand Prix. I need more aero, and what you're telling me is both aero upgrades have failed. What am I paying this man? I'm not paying this man, obviously. The team's paying this man, but you look at the development just there. Williams, on a once we have that chassis upgrade, we are now pretty much on par with Toro Rosso, and I do find that they have been the performers. Now, I'm willing to bet it's the poor morale of the aerodynamics department that's caused both of those to fail. Thankfully, we've accrued enough resource points through some practice programs and through our race performances there to be able to just set those both on, and they're going to get applied for Canada, which is the next race. So, Monaco Grand Prix, always a tricky one. I'm now tasked with dancing this Williams round the streets of Monaco. We'll see how that pans out in the 39-lap 50% Grand Prix that we've got here, but first weekend we're going to see the Hypersofts in use. I wish there was an option to run the Hypersoft tyre at every track. I'd love to see the Hypersoft tyre at, like, Britain, just to see it get ruined in a single lap, but yeah, Monaco seems slightly more revamped again this year. Some of the tracks appear to have had some touch work done on it. I do feel as if I can push the circuit and the boundaries a little bit more up to the barrier. I think that may just be, a couple of YouTubers have mentioned it there, that the tyres don't seem as pointlessly chunky and thick in this year's game. So I think you can push it just a little bit harder there. But you can see we're losing the back end a little bit there. I was running an interesting setup. I actually consulted the internet for a setup. I like to think it worked. I got used to it by the time the race rolled around. But before that, we obviously we saw in the Spanish Grand Prix our engine's wearing out a little bit. We only get 3 for the season, and it's going to be the first durability upgrade. The second durability upgrade, but it's the first one to a specific area of the car. I did just the generic one. Now we can do a 30% wear to all internal combustion engines. I've left the poor one in for this weekend, because it's Monaco. Power's not really a massive factor around Monaco, so I've left the worn engine in, and I'm going to replace that for the Canadian Grand Prix because that's a very power-dependent circuit. But here's our best lap in qualifying. It's actually our second lap here as we come through a Massenet, bring it around nicely, wait for it to straighten out, then through Casino Square. We've just brushed the barrier. We've actually gone over the curb a little bit there, so in fact, actually, I believe this to be our full lap. And then we actually have a better lap afterwards. So I do apologise for what I've told you, because we get 3 runs. I'm running short qualifying, if you guys hadn't noticed already. But we're running the short qualifying. That means we get 3 sets of the softest compound of tyres available. That being the Hypersofts. We're 2/10 up here on our banker lap that we did initially. As we come down to the Novo chicane, brake just after the 100-metre board. Get it just about slowed down. Took a few little liberties with the curb just there. But nonetheless, we now come up to Tabac. Again, go wide, almost brush the barrier through the swimming pool section. Big chunk of curb, and then just feed it through here delicately on the curbs. Don't want to be putting the car in the wall. Then down to the Rascas, second gear, 40 mile an hour, and then through Anthony Nogues. The final corner now on the power. Max, hot lap, out towards the line. It's nearly 7/10 up on our best, and it's only P17. So we were quite a way back in the pack. So as such, I'm going out for one banzai effort. This one's going to have far less care for the car. If I happen to improve, then I improve. If I stick it in the wall, then I stick it in the wall. The team might not be happy with that, but this one's got a much more reckless abandon as we come through. Just a much more committed first sector. Past the hump this time around, and we're 2/10 up already in the first sector, but we have gone wide in the Mirabeau as we come down to the Nouvelle chicane. This time, just a lot more better, that's a word. Getting it straightened up out the Nouvelle chicane into Tabac, kept it nice and tight. Again, just a bit more brushing of the wall, more straightened out through the swimming pool section, a lot more committed over the curbs, though. Again, contact with the barrier. Somehow we haven't got any damage. Wider line, outbreak through Rascas on the power, up to Anthony Nogues. Better line, straighter exit on DRS, charging towards the line. It's an 8/10 improvement. Where's it going to put us? It's P9. Woo! A much more committed lap. By the end of the session, it meant we were 10th, but still, just a much more committed lap. I still don't know how I didn't take any damage, but wow, what a performance around the streets of Monaco to put ourselves inside the top 10.
Amazing performance out there. You must be really happy. Things look close between you and your rival for a bit, but you came out on top, didn't you?
I feel as if you're trying to instigate something there, Claire, and I'm not falling for it.
Are you happy with where you'll be on the grid tomorrow?
No, I'm devastated being P10. No, it's going to give me a brilliant chance at points. You know, cars are going to struggle to overtake me around here.
Appreciate your time.
A proper road race, and in the true meaning of the word. That was how Mr. Monaco, the late great Graham Hill, once described this iconic event. The cars we drive have come a long way in the intervening half-century, but still we race on those same public roads beside the Mediterranean Sea. There's no victory more coveted than that of the Monaco Grand Prix.
Okay, don't try anything silly into one. It's going to be crazy in there. Just do your best to stay out of trouble.
That's certainly the plan, because if we go out in turn 1, then, yeah, it's not going to be much of a joy. So, obviously, we have to start on the Hypersoft tyre, because that's the tyre that we qualified on, and we qualified inside the top 10. So, we're going to run the car heavy again, just 2 laps of extra fuel. The 2-stop for me isn't going to work around Monaco. Realistically speaking, we need track position. Track position is more important than anything around here, so we're going to go for the 1-stop Hypers to Supers. Yes, it means we're going to be very slow at the end of our stints, but it puts us in the best position possible to get points. And we are on a surge of momentum at the moment when it comes to points. But we build with the 5 red lights for the Monaco Grand Prix. Lights are out and we're underway. Sainz has had not the best start, but he gets in a better second part. Magnussen's down my inside into turn 1. We come across, he comes steaming down the inside. Far too late on the brakes. Contact, yellow flag, collision with Magnussen. Up to P7 and safety car. Already, something horrific has happened into turn 1. I'm not entirely sure what it was, but you see a big old gap between the McLarens there. So there must have been some kind of hold-up into turn 1, and I still, again, don't think there's any kind of red flag functionality in these F1 games. So I think we're going to need to take another look at the start and see exactly what happened. It is a Ferrari 1-2, though, going around the Lowe's hairpin. So here we go. Let's get a replay of the start. What happened into turn 1? All we saw was Magnussen steaming up our inside. So let's see what happens from this overboard jet. Yeah, Magnussen comes steaming in. He makes contact with the Renaults. It's 3 wide. Then Magnussen just... Oh, he's got damage. Looking at that shot, you saw it briefly. Magnussen has damage. Let's look at it again from this perspective of Sainz. He went 3 wide and he's got stuck between myself and Sainz. You see, Magnussen has stopped and caused a pile-up at turn 1. That is why the safety car has been called out. Let's get it on board with Kevin Magnussen. He's starting on the ultra soft tyre, which of course you would do if you're definitely going to try 1-stop around here. So he gets a better second phase of the start. He's down my inside, then goes 3 wide with the Renaults, and then as he comes across, oh, he was turning left. His wheel was pointing left, and as I've come past him, it's just caught, and it shattered his suspension. And of course, that's meant he's out of the race in front of all those cars. So unfortunate for Magnussen after a brilliant start, but yeah, it's like Jeff said, don't be crazy into 1. Magnussen ignored that advice, and he is now out the Grand Prix. So we're up into 7th. We are behind the top 3. The top 3 teams, that is, and I don't think we're going to be overtaking them. So we are in an ideal position of best of the rest. That's exactly where we want to be. Green flag goes at the end of lap 3. Round Antonino's we go. Rich mix. We've got over 3 laps of fuel now because of being behind the safety car. Hot lap. And away we go into this Grand Prix. It's going to be about defending this position and looking after our hypersofts to get to like lap 10 or lap 11 of when we're going to be pitting to get those on the car.
Gearbox where try to keep your number of shifts to a minimum.
Okay, cheers for that information there, Jeff. Yes, our gearbox isn't looking great. I checked on it behind the safety car and it's 70% worn. So I hope that's not going to cause us any major issues. Vettel setting the pace on a 112.6. He leads the Grand Prix. This is our first lap, of course, with proper racing. We have built a bit of a gap back to Sainz, actually. We're on a 15.2, so we're over 2 seconds off the pace, which is to be expected, but we're running on our own here. What you got to offer me here, Jeff? It's a new strategy option. We'll check that once we're through the chicane. The Hypersoft's not giving me much option. Okay, so he wants me to go back to that 2-stop strategy. No, we're in a brilliant position. I don't want to lose track position. So here we come out the final corner, slithered our way around. A few cars are in the pits already to dispose of their Hypersoft tyres. I don't blame them. We're up to 5th, but it's a personal best. We're into the 14s. It's still sliding it through turn 1, though. Let's keep it going. fuel's not really burning too much around here about Monaco. It's a low fuel burn circuit, up to P2 now. Vettel continues on his hypersoft, so we're 12 seconds off the lead. Stoffel Van Dorn is now catching up to us on his ultra soft tyre. Vettel pits. We're going to take the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix. We've got 2 laps until our predicted pit stop lap, but now we have Van Dorn and Leclerc up behind us on ultra soft tyres, and they're going to be faring a hell of a lot better than my very worn hypersofts. As you can see there in turn 1, wasn't really able to turn in. That gives Van Dorn a brilliant run up the hill. Oh, Van Dorn with all the power in the world out of that Renault engine. I'm trying to go back down the inside, but Van Dorn parked it in the middle of the road. And, well, the Belgian has definitely shown overtaking around Monaco is definitely possible. So, end of lap 9, I want rid of these tyres. They are costing me boatloads of time now. We're in the pits for our one and only, hopefully one and only, scheduled pit stop of the afternoon. Let's not account for any kind of potential broken front wings, but here we are. What is the stop from the Williams boys? It's 2.4. Due to the safety car, the field's going to be bunched up. Now, Sainz was a car that came in quite early. He came in lap 5, and he's going to have pulled ahead of us there because, of course, of how slow we were travelling on the hypersofts. But, and this is the important but, Sainz is going to pit again. We are going to the end of this motor race. So what is our first lap in anger like on these tyres? It's a 14.5. Bear in mind we have gone 2 stages harder on the wear. So next lap around, we're going to come across the line. We're into the 13s, a 13.8, 6.2 seconds to Carlos Sainz. It's all about catching the pack. Speaking of the pack, a lot of them are in for their first pit stop on the ultra soft tyre here. So we've been burning the rich mix. We've used a lot of our ERS. We're charging down. Who are we going to be able to get into turn 1? We're past Esteban Ocon. That is Charles Leclerc, who, remember, was behind me when we came into the pits. He's now ahead of me when he's come out of the pits. So Leclerc looks like he's got me for position there, which is unfortunate. But that means that Leclerc was obviously quite high up there. So we'll see what we can do now as we're now coming down. And I think we've lost one of the gears, I think, on the downshift. Let me see it here on acceleration. Yes, we've lost second gear as we come through Portier. You see it there, down to first, I slide wide, then up to third. That gives me poor acceleration. Jeff is now telling me I've lost a gear. Yes, I'm fully aware of that, Jeff, that I've lost the gear. I'm now having to defend from Esteban Ocon into the Nouvelle chicane. So, yes, we have lost probably the most important gear around Monaco, and that meant that Ocon was able to get past me on acceleration into the tunnel. I'm, of course, not going to leave that lying down and lunge it up the inside of the chicane. We're going to get a yellow flag for that because Ocon did not want to yield that position, and that's meant a VSC has actually come out because there was a lot of traffic coming down towards the Nouvelle chicane. That virtual safety car is going to end at the start of lap 20, but yeah, Ocon was very slow coming on. There was a lot of traffic coming out the tunnel, so that allowed Ocon to get back on the circuit there, but we're up to P12, and there's a big old gaggle of cars just up the road who I feel have to make another pit stop. And second gear has come back, thankfully. We only lost it for a lap and a bit, but yeah, arguably one of the most important gears on the circuit. It's now lap 21. We've got a big old queue of cars here, led by Carlos Sainz, who appears to be travelling very slowly. It's got Van Dorn, Leclerc and Vettel in it. What it's also got is a bunch of guys leaving the door open into Rascasse. Thank you very much, guys. I'm going to take that. Sainz crawls into the pits. I've got no idea what his issue was, but he had to make a second pit stop anyway. So we're actually up to P7 on merit. Leclerc, though, is going to try and have a go into Saint-Devois. Go on, Charles. It's your home Grand Prix. We squeeze him out, though, onto the inside there. That's going to put him back into the clutches of Sebastian Vettel now. And we now move on to lap 23. Leclerc behind us. We're saving a bit of battery here. Does that mean Leclerc's going to try and have a go into the chicane? I hope not. We are still trying to burn some of the rich mix that we've got. Leclerc has a look round the outside. Doesn't really pull too far ahead of us, though. And we keep it nice and tight on the curb to prevent him from having a go. But Van Dorn up the road. We're up to 5th. We're in this position on merit here. So Ricciardo made a pit stop and came out in 4th. That was his final pit stop of the race. That means Stoffel Van Dorn is running in a podium position. And we're only 30 seconds off the lead of this Grand Prix. But yes, it definitely looks like we're 5th on merit. And we're actually pulling away from Leclerc a little bit here. So we've managed to build a bit of a second gap behind us. But we're going to take a little look now at a replay of Daniel Ricciardo making a ridiculous overtake. Here it is, round the outside of Massenet on Stoffel Van Dorn. That Red Bull is glued to the road on those fresh ultra soft tyres. I just thought that was impressive. So running order ahead of me, Ricciardo is 3rd, Alonso is 2nd, And Nico Hulkenberg, my arch nemesis of this season, what it feels like, is leading this Grand Prix by a country mile. So, on lap 29, we jump to lap 29 here. Virtual safety car for whatever reason. I'm very unaware of why. I do feel as if I get a lot of safety cars and VSCs. I might have a little look into that. But anyway, so the VSC ends at the start of lap 30. We've got 10 laps to go. These tyres don't feel awful, but they definitely feel a little bit second hand. So I need to try and build a gap to Leclerc, because if that Mercedes gets past Leclerc, then I am in potential trouble here. And of course we need to bear in mind our gearbox, because that is still a factor in this Grand Prix. So Van Dorn is pulling into the... Why is Van Dorn pitting at the end of lap 30? In fact, loads of cars are pitting at the end of lap 30. The whole queue behind me is pitting at the end of lap 30. What the hell has happened in the last couple of laps? We have a look. Yep. They all sped behind the virtual safety car. I think that might be a bit of a glitch, a bit of a bug at the moment with the game, because I'm seeing an accelerated amount of safety cars and especially AI speeding behind it, which is, you know, it's good to see AI making mistakes, but they tend to do it all the time, which is a little bit unrealistic. But anyway, I'm going to take the fresh air. Ricardo is 9 seconds ahead of me. Perez, 2 seconds behind me. I'm not going to complain about that, because it now means I'm in fresh air, unopposed, for the rest of this Grand Prix. So, we come on now, lap 34, and the gearbox is acting weird again. You see, we went through turn 1 in 7th gear. We're shifting down the gears rather than up them as we go up the hill. I'm running auto gears, but obviously you have the manual override option of A and X on a pad. And it turns out I've got another gearbox issue. That gearbox issue being, it won't change out of gears. It will only do it when it fancies, and there's a horrible sound on deceleration into corners. I don't know if you'll be able to pick it up. I'm going to be quiet for a second here. Don't know if you can hear that, almost like that crunching together of gears and cogs, but it, just look at the car, it just won't go through the gears, through the tunnel, and it means that I've got Perez down my inside into the Nouvelle chicane. Is he going to make a move? No, he can't, because we chop him off, but 5 laps from home for a potential P4 in Monaco, this is exactly what I didn't need, and goes to show I should have maybe done a durability upgrade on the gearbox. That being said, you know, I needed to get the performance of the Williams up, so we're just about keeping ahead of him here through the swimming pool section, because there's no way through, but I need this issue resolved, or I'm going to finish out the points. Look at the queue of cars behind me. I don't want to fall to the end of that. I only want points here. Look, stuck in 2nd, stuck in 3rd. Ocon goes through. Grosjean goes through. Brendan Hartley goes through. We're down in one straight on Monaco from P4 to P7. And I get the feeling that Ericsson is going to blast past me up the hill. I try and defend it. He's going to go the other way. He's now on the inside into Massenet. And he's got me. I'm trying to defend through Casino Square, but that's eventually going to lead to a crash. Ericsson holds it round the outside, and he's pulled far too ahead of me for me to lunge it down into the Mirabeau. The gearbox is just stuck in gears. It's still not responding. Down to 2nd there. Is it going to... It's safety car now. I don't know if that was being caused by me travelling so slowly or if there's been an issue somewhere else. But look, it still won't change behind the safety car. This issue has now been apparent for well over a lap and a half. So, lap 37 now. We're P7. The gearbox appears to have fixed itself. We're on very worn tyres, but we've got a full battery. Rich mix. We're going to get 2 laps of racing here. And the gearbox, yes, the gearbox is fixed. But now... can we try and retain or regain any of the positions we lost? Let's see what we can do. So, 2 laps of racing there. And now look at it. We go into turn 1. There's now rain, water streaming down the chassis of my car. If there was one thing I didn't need left in this Grand Prix, it's damp weather, worn tyres, and a dodgy gearbox. We're going to stay on board here because who knows what could happen for the rest of this race. We nearly... send it into the barrier there at the Mirabeau, but the field is so slow. We're going to remain on board for the remainder of this Grand Prix. Is anything going to happen? Who knows? At this point, with the amount of issues there's been, I could end up winning this race. Anyway, we're through the tunnel. Ericsson has pulled out a lead on us. We are defending from Pierre Gasly, who is just behind us in the Toro Rosso. Can he make a move? No, he can't. Into the Nouvelle chicane. We, once again, just take a hell of a lot of curve. We're not going to let Gasly get any look at us there. And now we tiptoe it through to back nicely on the power. Try and keep it out of the wall. Because P7, look, it could have been P4. but I'll still take P7. That horrible noise that I was talking about is still very much apparent there. Just a crunching noise, some mechanical grinding, as it were. But we're going to come through Anthony Nose onto the last lap of the Grand Prix. We're going to keep it in rich, keep it in high ERS deployment mode, because who knows what could happen. We're still in the 15, so the pace is still very apparent, but there's not a lot of grip, as you saw me there slide and graze against the wall in turn 1. These tyres have been on the car now for 31 laps, so they've definitely had enough at this point. Gasly very much behind us through the first sector. Is he going to make a dive into the mirror boat? Answer is no. We've won very wide. We've made contact with the wall, though, so that could potentially mean Gasly could have a go, but no, he will not. It means, though, we are going to have a horrible amount of understeer through the remainder of this Grand Prix, but Ericsson and Hartley still haven't got ahead of us there. I think everyone's just trying to stay single file and actually get to the end here, because everyone's on worn tyres. Who knows who's going to have damage, and of course the rain coming down is going to make the track nice and greasy. So, into the Novo chicane, just sliding, just keeping out the barrier there, nearly tore off my front wing as we come through to back for the final time, just keeping out of the wall there. Look, we're 3 seconds down now, personal best. That is how slow this lap has been. We clout the curb into the wall again. More damage on our front wing. We're going to come through the final corners. Fernando Alonso is going to win the Monaco Grand Prix, but we boot out the final corner after 2 loads of gearbox issues. We cross the line for P7.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Park Fermé.
Or P6, apparently.
Welcome then to the podium, our top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
So actually, Daniel Ricciardo won the Monaco Grand Prix from Sergio Perez. Romain Grosjean is your top 3. Then Brendan Hartley, Marcus Ericsson. We end up P6. Gasly, Stroll gets 8th. Sainz in 9th. Vettel in 10th. The big teams had a horrific Grand Prix, and Alonso was apparently 18 laps down. That's a little bit glitchy. Apparently the fastest lap of the Grand Prix was 21 seconds by Nico Hülkenberg. That's very glitchy, but either way, they didn't get points, so that worked out fine. We jumped to 7th in the driver standings, officially best of the rest on 38 points. Max Verstappen there on 41. Daniel Ricciardo jumped up to P4 with his win today, and Williams now cemented in P5, closing in on Force India somewhat, but of course Perez got the better result. And Haas now moving up ahead of Renault. So this midfield battle is far from over yet. So we'll need to fight that out as the season goes on. It's going to be a season-long battle because the midfield all converge each other in the development race. Let's get on with an interview with Claire.
Amazing performance out there. You must be really happy. Would you say that your rival is still on your level?
This is the second time you've asked a question like this, Claire, and it's just... You're trying to instigate something, and I don't like it.
You gained a lot of positions during the race, didn't you?
I did well. The car actually felt pretty decent. I'm talking about the aero upgrades that we received. They were beneficial.
You're beating all expectations. Would you say we all underestimated you?
I would say so, but, you know, a rookie sometimes has brilliant races, but we're on a surge of momentum at the moment at the start of this career mode.
Do you think you were lucky not to end your race with that crash?
If you're talking about the crash on the final lap of the race, yeah, I am quite lucky just to take some front wing damage.
Great. Well, that's everything.
So here we have the rivalry. We've beaten Stroll in our rivalry, 30 points to 19, and we're leading the rivalry with Charles Leclerc, so hopefully that has a good effect on the reputation we have around the paddock. There's a nice little stack of resource points coming my way. See how many we get for the race. Of course, we're getting the first driver bonus now. Completely forgot that was still a thing. Race bonus 126. Team gold bonus 400. That gives us 804 resource points for the Monaco Grand Prix. And once again, reputation shooting up with every team. We are, in our rookie season, outshining every single person. So, 1,200 resource points to play with. Let's take a little look what we can do with the car. That weight distribution, I'm still not 100% sure on how much of an impact that's actually having. So what I would rather do is go for a bigger upgrade. Let's go for a major upgrade, a weight reduction, the engine cover. That's going to give us a huge increase of chassis. It's going to bump us ahead of Alfa Romeo and up there with Force India when it comes to chassis. So that blows a lot of our points. And of course, we're going to need to consider running a new upgrade for the car. But that means 5 upgrades are now in the works. We get loads of those come through for Canada. We get the engine upgrade in France. And we get the chassis upgrade in Austria. So, big upgrades coming for the Williams car, which of course coincides with our performance. And the Monaco Grand Prix once again throws up some very interesting results. A little bit glitchy. I'll let it off because, you know, the game's fairly new, you know, patches and all that sort of thing. But guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. Please do like if you did and comment any feedback down below. Next time out is one of my favourites, the Canadian Grand Prix. We always tend to go well there. So we'll see how that works out because it is very much a power circuit. And we have, with our upgrades, the most powerful engine on the grid. So, you know, playing to our strengths of the car, like I said, we'll try and develop it in other areas. But at the end of the day, the powertrain has got us where we are. I will see you all next time.